We've got to talk about Charlie Kirk, because you've got new video footage that allegedly shows Tyler Robinson walking around Utah Valley University's campus before and after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Right, it ended up being one of the biggest reveals in court yesterday, along with the fact that Robinson allegedly interacted with Turning Point USA reps prior to the killing.
Do you believe you recognize who that person is?
Yes.
Who is that?
I believe that's Tyler Robinson.
All right, where does he go from there?
He heads out of the parking garage on foot into the campus. And actually goes to the quad area of the campus. At that time, he makes contact with some representatives from TPUSA.
You believe this is Mr. Robinson returning to campus?
I do, yes.
Okay. And why do you believe it's Mr. Robinson?
The shoes are the same.
He's noticeably wearing different clothing.
He is wearing different clothing, and he also is walking with a gait or a limp in this video. And again, in the top left corner, the individual is now seen running across the rooftop of the Losi building.
You believe this to be Mr. Robinson?
I do, yes.
And how long is he out there on the edge of the building?
Just until the reported shot was fired at 12:23 and 28.
Right, so that was a Utah prosecutor questioning Utah State Bureau of Investigation agent David Hull. You have them saying that these videos trace Robinson's alleged movements the day that Charlie was killed and even in the hours after. Right, with that investigator revealing that while the manhunt was taking place overnight, it appears that Robinson's car was about to make a turn onto the campus, but he was stopped by an officer who spoke to him. And while we don't know what was said, it resulted in that officer flagging the license plate.
I guess cop intuition, but there was something about the interaction that made him make a note of the license plate of the vehicle. And then subsequently, when information was available that that vehicle or a vehicle matching the description of that was involved in the incident, he ran the information that he had obtained from the stop and was able to identify that it was registered to Mr. Robinson, and he had in fact had contact with Mr. Robinson on the morning of September 11th, 2025.
And all of this questioning, it's part of a week-long preliminary hearing where you have prosecutors trying to prove that they have enough evidence to take Tyler Robinson to trial for the murder of Charlie Kirk. And while this hearing, it's not a trial itself, you've got outlets saying it kind of will resemble a mini trial as prosecutors put together their evidence and officers provide testimony. And so then with that, it'll also give us insight into the defense's strategy here, especially since Robinson has yet to enter a plea. Also, you're seeing that Erica Kirk's been attending the hearing, as have Charlie's parents and other guests like Donald Trump Jr., putting them all in the same room with the alleged killer. And as for what his family has to say, well, before the hearing kicked off, Erica released a joint statement from her, his parents, and sister saying that every court proceeding has been incredibly painful, and adding, out of respect for the judicial process, we will not be commenting further at this time. We ask for continued privacy as we navigate this process in immense grief. And with all this, there's been a ton of tension in these hearings over a number of matters, including that footage you just saw. Because on Monday, when other videos were presented to the court, the public didn't get to see them. It was only viewable to those inside. So you had that prompting just a ton of outrage among people who've been closely following this case, and they wanted to get the insight provided by these videos. And while Robinson's lawyer wanted to prevent surveillance footage of him going public to protect his right to a fair trial, yesterday you had the judge allowing us to get a peek of some videos. Also, there's been a ton of back and forth about DNA that's being admitted, and that's because you have investigators saying that they found the alleged murder weapon wrapped in a towel in a wooded area near where the assassination took place, and the towel appears to have the DNA of two people, Robinson's roommate, who's cooperated with the prosecution, and the second is likely Robinson. But the defense, they've been questioning the reliability of that DNA, arguing that it is not a conclusive match. And that, of course, is not going to be the only time that Robinson's roommate comes up, as you have prosecutors likely going to be focusing on a note that he allegedly wrote for his roommate saying, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." And of course, this hearing, it's drawn a lot of attention. According to the AP, some spectators camped outside of the courthouse overnight to be able to get inside. We've also seen responses kind of from all over the place. You had Trump Jr., who, like we said, was present, going on Fox News to say that he thinks a very clear case is being formed against Robinson.
But having literally been there in the room, seen the evidence with my own eyes, it's very clear to me that Tyler Robinson will be found guilty.
But also a big thing here is like, kind of no matter what happens in that courtroom, there are going to be people who just do not believe what the prosecutors are saying. Right, and connected to that, you're the New York Times speaking to some of the people that were outside of the courthouse, and some, they think Charlie isn't even actually dead. There are also then others who think we barely scratched the surface when it comes to his killing. And then I guess also on that note, you've got people like Candace Owens sounding off about these hearings as well, because before they began, she wrote, "You will hear the Fed's narrative absent any ability for the defense to meaningfully dispute it. What you can expect, aside from Erica's tears, are an orbit of her payrolled influencers trying to convince you that the unvetted evidence is overwhelming and undeniable. Saying the real trial will come later, Charlie's army is growing. Ultimately, truth will win. And she has spent the days since questioning the evidence being put forward, implying that the videos played do not actually show Robinson, and also fighting with leaders in TPUSA and Ben Shapiro. But also, as far as what's next, I mean, very likely this is going to be heading to trial. Right? Prosecutors, they don't even have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Robinson's responsible for Kirk's death here, just that there is probable cause for him to be tried. Right? So you've got a lower burden of proof right now. And so while understandably, you're going to have a lot of people focused on this, talking about this, this is really the stage getting set for the full thing to play out.